Hey, Giants, I am going live at a random time because my mind is just going crazy with some thoughts here. Let me know if you can hear me. Can't see the comments because I'm driving. But man, I'm thinking about beliefs and where beliefs come from and how they're created and what in our biology creates a belief and how do we shift it. And so I might ramble for a minute here, but hang with me. I'm going to go through kind of the structure of the brain and really try and identify how we create our belief systems and how we transform those. And so if you give me a thumbs up in the comments real quick, let me know if you can hear me all right. Um, I'm going to talk about fractals for just a second because fractals are simply evidence of where energy flows or where energy once flowed. And so if you look at a river system, a dry riverbed, you'll see a fractal pattern, almost like a lightning pattern, lightning bolt pattern, that shows that water once flowed there. So that is a fractal pattern. It's evidence that energy once flowed there. Crystals are the same thing. Energy once flowed there. Lightning shows that energy does flow there or currently or did flow there at some point. And so your circulatory system is structured on the same thing. That's a fractal. It's self-similar patterns that repeat in smaller form. And so it's just evidence that energy once flowed there. Our brains are designed that way. So if you look at the structure of the brain, I'm going to really nerd out here. The structure of the brain is set up like this. You have atoms in your neurons. Each atom or each neuron contains about 1 trillion atoms. It's a lot. So each atom contains about 7,000 on average, 7,000 synaptic connections. Each of those could be a bit or a byte of information, which means that your brain can store over 1,000,000 gigs of information. That would be enough to store 3 million hours of TV in your single brain. That would mean that you would have to run a TV constantly for 300 years for your brain to reach capacity. So your brain has limitless capacity for storage. So what beliefs are is your ability to perceive and take in information and store it and then bring it back up and manipulate it in your environment. So if you have that much capacity for storage, what happens is your perception determines which information you'll use at any given time to interact with your environment. And so your perception is your experience of the world. And so if you think about your perception is simply taking the experiences that you've had, manipulating those, storing them back in for later use so that you can draw from them. So when you go back into the world, you're going to be able to pull those quickly and not have to go through that entire process of storage and retrieval. And so your beliefs are simply those quickly accessed systems within your brain. I mean, if you have that much storage capacity in your brain, you would have to clump it together for you to access it in a way that would be usable. I'm going to have to pull over for this one because I'm driving and I'm having a hard time driving and thinking about this. So I'm going to pull over and we'll talk for a minute and then I'll drive again and I'll go grab some lunch because that's what I'm doing. So let's talk about this. If a belief is simply your experience, and so simply the information that you can draw from quickly without having to think about it, it would be that experiential memory that you've stored in there that just says this is important. So that when you go to make a decision, you can draw from that, use your beliefs to make the decision. It tells you what to perceive in your environment. So as all this stimuli is coming into your space, billions and billions of bits of information coming into your space every day, it tells you what to pay attention to. Otherwise, you'd be overloaded and there's no way you could function. And so our beliefs simply help us narrow down which pieces of information to pay attention to. You have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. And so there's no way you could pay attention to all those. So your beliefs say, let's pay attention to these. And those are the ones that we'll have emotion on. And those are the ones that we'll act on. Because your thoughts are going to impact your emotions are going to impact your behaviors. And then those behaviors are in turn going to impact your actions. And that's going to create your reality. And so I guess what I'm nerding out on here is that your brain has limitless capacity. There's no way in your lifetime that you're ever going to fill it up. And so you have this ability to store just about everything that comes through. The challenge is that it's not all useful for you. And so you really are going to take that information in, and based on your perceptions, the experiences that you've had, that becomes your perception. And you create an identity and a personality around those perceptions. It becomes your belief system, your personality traits. I happen to be an INFJ as far as my personality, which is a tendency towards introversion, feeling, judgment, sometimes assertiveness. but I have this way of being that's pretty consistent. So these characteristics that you could say, yeah, I know Nick, he's pretty much like this. You have your own. Ryan, I know you're an ENFP or an ENFP, which is a different way of being. My friend Natalie, she's an ENFJ. And so these personality types are just based on the experiences that you've had and the beliefs that you've had, so that you've come into this world and you want to interact with this world from that personality, these characteristics. And that is a kind of an amalgamation, like I talked about the other day, of all of these belief systems. So originally, when you came into this world, you adopted the belief systems of your parents. They said this is the truth, so you adopted that, and then you practiced that, and that became your reality. And then as you grew, you developed your own belief systems. I guess where I'm going with this is that our belief systems are plastic. That means that they're moldable. The brain it has what's called neuroplasticity. It's the ability to reroute or manipulate information in new ways so that you can constantly change and adapt to your environment. Charles Darwin said that it's not the strongest that survived, it's the most adaptable to change. I'm looking off in the distance here because I'm trying to think this through as I share it with you. But when you're adaptable to change, it means when you have an interaction with something, that becomes your experience. Experience simply is the meaning that you give something based on the beliefs that you hold, and those can be changed. So if you have a new experience, you can change those beliefs almost immediately, and then those beliefs became the operating system for the new actions and emotions, and that's where you change. So I'm so curious right now about beliefs, because the beliefs underlie everything. When you have a value system that says, I value relationship, but you have a belief that says relationships are hard, and you interact with the world from that belief system that says that relationships are hard, you start to have emotions around that maybe create defeat in your life, and you have inaction because of that defeated feeling. And then you start to create that as your reality, what we call self-sabotage. Then that shows up in your world. But as soon as you can change the experience and have a new experience, and you create a new belief around that, and that becomes your new operating system, then you're able to adapt in a new way, and that's plasticity, and you have infinite capacity for that in your brain. Then you're able to interact in a new way with your world. And as you practice that, you have what are called glial cells that come in and support that and make it fire faster and faster and more efficiently, to where it becomes automated, where you don't have to think about it. And it becomes your new operating system, where you interact with the world in a way that you never have before. I think what happens is when we have experiences around things, we start to predict into the world that's what's going to occur when we have a similar experience, and we don't let it play out. And if we would let it play out, oftentimes we can have a new experience, and that new experience becomes the foundation for our new beliefs, and those new beliefs become the foundation for our new thoughts, and those new thoughts become the foundation for our new emotions, and those emotions impact our activity. Then from there, that's where we start to see the change. And so I guess going back to the idea of a fractal being evidence where energy once flowed, if you look at a tree and all the branches that come off of it, the tree is evidence that energy flows there, or at one time did flow there. River systems are evidence that energy flowed there or currently flows there. Lightning's the same way. Highway systems, I'm looking at the highway right now. There's evidence that energy flows there. Cars running up and down the highway, that's a fractal model. Your brain runs on the same thing. So if energy flowed through a pathway at one point, the only thing it would take is energy flowing down that pathway for it to be reactivated. So if it doesn't serve you anymore, you move that energy to something else. That pathway is still there, but the energy is flowing down a new pathway. And so with practice and time, your body supports that, keeps the energy flowing down the new pathway, and that becomes your new behavior and your new way of being and your new interaction with the world, and therefore your reality. And so I don't know if that serves you. I hope it does. It serves me in a way of understanding that my brain is designed to support me, but only always. And so when you say, yeah, is everything a fractal? Anything that has flow of energy is a fractal. So our bodies are fractaled. Our neural systems are fractaled. Our highway systems are fractaled. And so scientifically, the fractal is simply the pattern that shows, or the pathway that shows, that energy once flowed there, or that it currently does flow there. To change your behaviors, they're created by fractals. They're created in clusters. They're created by experiences, and those experiences become the foundation of your beliefs. Those beliefs dictate which thoughts to pay attention to, or which stimuli in the environment to pay attention to. And so when you pay attention to that, then you have the thoughts that relate to that, and then you have the emotions that relate to those thoughts, and those emotions impact your behaviors, and those behaviors therefore impact your reality. So I'm talking in circles a little bit here, but you can see the interplay between it. So if you're having thoughts, if you're having emotions that are heavy, if you're having depression, if you're having anxiety, then there's some thoughts that are there, and those thoughts are stemming from the beliefs that you're holding, and those beliefs are based on the experiences that you've had. And so go get some new experiences. Go try something else. Let things play out. You know, rather than assuming and predicting that it's going to play out the same way, just let it play out. Let it go a different path. Potentially you might have a new experience that will shift your belief system and therefore shift everything else that follows. And so let me know if this serves you. I love learning about the brain because I want to know the scientific as much as I want to know the ethereal. I want to know the spiritual because we talk about things in metaphor from experience, but then science comes in and backs it up with evidence, and I love that. And so that's why I lean on it so much, because I want that evidence. And so I would say, you know, as you practice today, here's what I would offer is be with the emotions first. Pay attention to your emotions because your emotions will tell you the thoughts that you're having. Once you're aware of the thoughts that you're having, you can dive backward. You can go into the beliefs that you're having. So the beliefs would be the foundational clusters of thoughts that you've had or experiences that became the memories that you draw from when you're predicting into your future. And there you can have new experiences and create new belief systems. And from those belief systems, you'll shift your thoughts and your emotions automatically. But it's going to take practice before it becomes automated, and it does it without you thinking about it. So that's where I say the fractal pattern is self-similar repetitions that over time create complexity in your life. I am rambling. Holy cow. Love seeing you guys on here. I haven't even looked at the comments really, but I can see there's a ton of them. But this is where my brain goes. I just try and, you know, I think about things and then my brain just tries to put it all together in a pattern that's useful, not only for you, but for me, because I want to shift it. And so continue to comment. If I can help you understand something, reach out to me, DM me, let me know, and I'll do my best to do that. But go make it a giant day. And my video's shaky as shit, but I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.